So why is it so hard for those who are not disabled to date somebody that is already in that position? I don't understand it. I feel like that we kind of get discriminated against because of our disability when it comes to dating. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this brand new episode of the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your host, Nick Comstock, or on this Tuesday before Christmas, you could call me Saint Nicholas Comstock. I hope everyone has their Christmas shopping done, or you're at least close to getting it done. And if it's not done, you better hurry because Christmas is just in a couple of days. Let's go, people. The pressure's on to impress everybody you don't like for another year. Hey, I have a great way you can do it, and you actually may impress the people that you don't like. So our friends at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio are the sponsors of the Nick Speaks podcast. And they have said, because we love the Nick Speaks podcast and its viewers and listeners, we want to give 20% off to anyone who signs up and goes and has massage and uses the promo code Speak Up at checkout. So you will get 20% off your massage when you go to Columbus Massage and Wellness Studio's website and sign up for a massage with Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio, and you use that promo code Speak Up. Think of this. If you give this to a person that you don't like and they actually love massages, on top of the fact that they're going to get 20% off, you gave them a massage, which they love, number one, and you saved them 20% on their visit. So now if they don't like you, they're going to be in love with you. So why don't you do that this Christmas, New Year's, holiday season? Give somebody the gift of relaxation and visit our friends at Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio. Get 20% off your visit when you use the promo code Speak Up at checkout. You guys, it's the Tuesday before Christmas, as I said, and you would expect me to talk about something Christmas themed because everybody is. TV shows are Christmas themed, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've always been one to roll to the beat of my own drum. And I didn't say march because obviously I can't walk. So marching is impossible. So I've always been one to roll to the beat of my own drum. And today I want to talk about one of my favorite topics, something that I've talked about multiple times in the history of this show, and that is dating and disability. And I want to talk about it, and I want to hear from able-bodied people today on this episode. Here's the question I have for you. Why won't you date people with disabilities? Why won't you give us a chance? Is it because you're scared of all the work? You think we're fragile? We can't support you? What is it? I remember dating a young lady for a very brief time when I went to Bible college for a year. I didn't get anything out of the Bible college. All they gave me was a certificate of completion. And I remember this girl and I decided that we were in like with each other because you weren't allowed to be in love. You had to be in like first before you could be in love. And I hate it when adult couples, when they're first dating, if they're like, when they hang up their phone, they're like, I like you. And the other one's, I like you too. I'm like, my word, that is so junior high-ish. So if you do that in your relationship and you're a full grown ass adult, just be normal and just be like, hey, I think you're special, or I think you're awesome and I enjoy our time together. Anyway, that's a rabbit trail. I just don't like the whole I like you too trend, because to me that's too junior high-ish and IFB. And if you don't know what IFB means, I grew up in the Independent Fundamental Baptist movement. So that's what IFB means. And it's a real cult. Anyway, I've talked about that many times on here too. But I dated a girl for a very brief time, and we weren't even talking about anything serious. But she wanted me to, because she wanted me to go to her dating counselor. Okay. And because in the IFB culture, you're supposed to have dating counselors, and it's real traditional. You have to ask the girl's dad's permission to date her, and you have to get both parents' approval. Although if one set of parents approve, say the dad's parents approve, say the son, not the dad's, the son's parents approve of you dating, but the girl's dad doesn't approve of you dating, well then that's all bets are off. Because if the girl's dad doesn't like you in the IFB culture or hears anything bad about you, you don't have a chance even in hell. Honestly, actually, you probably would have a chance in hell, because IFB culture doesn't exist in hell. But anyway, so this girl wanted me to meet with her dating counselor, and we went to a Christian college. And so I didn't meet with her. I had a conversation with her on the phone. And what we did, the dating counselor was concerned about, well, Nick, she was from Alabama. She's like, well, Nick, I'm just concerned because, how are you going to support her with your disability? Like, really? That's what we're doing. We're going down this road that early. All we know is that we're in like with each other. We're not getting married tomorrow. So, but they immediately had doubts about me because of my disability. Now, come to find out, that girl's entire family was a psycho group of people. So I'm glad it didn't work out. But back to my question, now that I'm off my rabbit trail, what is it about the disabled community that scares able-bodied people and that keeps you from dating us? And I also want to know too, is it more difficult for physically disabled women to get a date, or is it more difficult for physically disabled men, or is it about the same? Because I honestly feel like if someone has a non-visible disability, they have more of a chance to get dates than somebody who has a real visible disability. I'm just going to give you pros and cons for dating me, because I can't really speak for the rest of the disabled community, because everyone has different physical challenges than I do. Like, I wear a brief. I'm not able to transfer without use of a Hoyer lift. So my disability challenges are quite complex. And my thing is that, having to wear a brief, which most people refer to, as much as I hate it, having to wear a brief, most people refer to it as an adult diaper. And I don't use that word because it's already self-deprecating that I have to have somebody wipe my butt like a baby when I'm freaking 35 years old. And unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond my control, I have to have that done. And so I use the term brief, which is the proper term. And some people are okay with using the word diaper. Like, there was a man in my comments. He said, I'm 72 years old and I have to wear what you have to wear, but I call him a diaper because it doesn't bother me. And it may not bother some people. I know it bothers me to hear that word and to hear me dealt with in that way. And I guess I'm self-conscious no matter who I would be dating, a man or a woman. They have to wipe my butt. Any of them would if they were dating me. at some point, I would be severely self-conscious about it. Now, if you know me, anything at all, if you follow me on my social media, I try to use humor to cover up the difficulty and the pain of the most difficult situations. So I've always said, like, hey, if you have to wipe my butt after a brief change, if you have to wipe my butt during that time when it's all clean, we can play later. We can play afterwards. And in fact, I know that if you have to wipe my butt and you're going to make sure that it's extremely clean so that when you stick your finger up in there to play around a little bit, you know that it's clean because you're the one that did it and you don't want to put your hand on some poop. So, but is that really what it is? Because as we've talked on this program many times before, that it takes anyone seconds to become permanently physically disabled and need brief changes, or need somebody to wipe their butt. So, what really I struggle to know what is really the issue with disabled people getting linked up with able-bodied. Is it because you think we're too emotionally fragile? We can't support you financially? You're right. I don't see how two people can make it on a $900 check from the government each and every month. That's why I'm working so hard, and I encourage other disabled entrepreneurs to work hard, because nobody is going to want to live on such tight shoestring when you're in a marriage, whether you're disabled or non-disabled. So if it's the fact of, well, Nick, I'm afraid that this person can't support me because they're on a limited income with Social Security, or I don't want to take care of someone like a child. Well, see, that's a problem. If that's really the issue, then that already says that you're not looking at the disabled human being as a disabled adult. You're looking at them as if they are still a child in an adult's body. And, it's not fair to those of us who are physically disabled and mentally enabled. Physically disabled, mentally enabled. That's what I say all the time. Now, if you marry somebody that happens to be a little bit or maybe a lot mentally disabled, then I can understand your concern that, you're always having to schedule their doctor's appointments. You're always having to keep up on them, making sure they take their medication. So maybe you don't want to take that risk. But is that really fair to the disabled community? Because we all deserve to find love, whether we're disabled or not. So one of the many questions for the disabled community today, or for the able-bodied community today in this episode, is, why won't you give us the chance? And do you really think we deserve to have love? Because if you do, then every disabled person should have at least had 2 or 3 girlfriends or 2 or 3 boyfriends by now. Because who's to say that, okay, you get in an interabled relationship. One of you's disabled and the other one is enabled. So you get in an interabled relationship. What's going to happen if you become disabled? Do you expect your disabled husband or wife to leave you? No, chances are they won't, because they love you. They'll have to hire a second or third caregiver to take care of both of you now, because you both are disabled, unfortunately. But I really think able-bodied people miss out on some of the most loving, highly intense romantic relationships from disabled people, simply because they don't want to deal with the hassles that come with living with a disabled person. And, it's fine. You say, Nick, would you ever date a person with a disability? Yeah, if their disability didn't hinder them from being able to pick me up and throw me around. and be all sexy and great in the bedroom. I mean, yeah, because honestly, I want that. So if they had like a learning disability or even a slight physical disability, but they could still do everyday things and it didn't really affect us in any way, then I would strongly consider it. But dating somebody in a wheelchair would be very interesting and very difficult because my question is, how do two people in a wheelchair hug and kiss each other if they're in a relation? Because one has to lean forward and then they both have to lean forward, and it's kind of crazy. And I mean, one of my best friends, my neighbor, he's in a wheelchair just like me, and it's hard for the two of us to hug, and I'm a hugger. But the problem is we're both on wheelchair. So how would this work if we were a couple? Like, how would we be physically intimate if I dated somebody else in a wheelchair? Maybe I could date someone else in a wheelchair that isn't as physically challenged as I am. Maybe they could still do a lot of the heavy lifting. I don't know. But I just really want to get a sense from the able-bodied community is what is stopping you from dating somebody that is disabled? Because speaking as a disabled person, I have a lot of love to give. And I don't think an able-bodied person can love you as well as a disabled person. I think disabled people have a special kind of love because we need so much help from people every day. We've developed instant love and gratitude because without our instant love, without our instant ability to love and forgive, we would be up a creek without a paddle because we depend on so many people to help us every day. So I just want to encourage you, if you're on the fence, able-bodied person, about dating someone who is physically disabled, really give them a chance. Because you know what? Yes, you will have to be like, if somebody's out there right now, they're listening to me. Maybe you're my future wife or future husband. Maybe you're my future spouse. And you're out there listening to me and you're like, oh, I don't know how this would work. Well, just give it a chance. Because two able-bodied people don't always know how a relationship is going to work. Yes, the disability is an added challenge, but two able-bodied people don't say, we don't know how this is going to work, so this is not going to work out. We're just going to give up. No, they try until they know it's not going to work out. But unfortunately, what happens with able-bodied people is that they look at our wheelchairs, they look at our Down syndrome diagnosis, they look at our autism diagnosis, and they say, I can't handle that. I can't handle spastic bodies. I can't handle somebody who has to have everything in a certain line or they're going to go crazy. I can't handle somebody that can only eat chicken nuggets and fries for 6 months and then go on to something else. Death do us part still rings true, even if you're disabled or not. So, and if you're like, well, I don't know how is somebody physically disabled going to handle me in the bedroom? One of the greatest things about physically disabled people, I got to be honest with you, especially me, we get to enjoy sex because all we have to do is lay there. Now, trust me, I'm going to be very active and rubbing on you and touching on you and all this type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I know sex isn't the be all end all of every relationship, but I know it's a very important part. So if you think, well, gee, how are we going to be physically intimate and how are we both going to get pleasured? Well, that's when we take time and we talk as a couple and we say, okay, what works for us and this is what works for us, and this is what we'll do, and this is my limit, and we'll have a great time. Trust me, like I said, when you're my lover and you're giving me a shower and you're rubbing me in certain areas, hey, we can start things off right there. And you just want to make things extra clean at that point because you don't want to run into any dingleberries in the middle of having fun. So, I may not be, hey, ladies, I may not be able to rock the bed like a normal guy and, you know, screw you like you're supposed to be screwed, but I can love you like no one else, and the same for anybody else. Oh, by the way, if you're listening to this episode and you're like, oh God, did he really just say this? Yes, this turned into the Playboy channel on the Tuesday before Christmas. Welcome. Because this is a very important topic to me, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit today. However, I will say, and I'm going to tell this story. I'm not going to say which of my brothers it happened with, but I will say when we get married, whoever my future spouse is out there, we're not doing hanky panky at my grandparents' house, okay? Because one of my brothers, we all have that one person in our family that somehow their brain got left in the womb, or maybe got left in heaven when God sent them down to the womb. I don't know. But we all have that family member that is just for some reason born without a brain, or their circuits are short. I don't know which one it is. But the reason why I say future lover, we are not going to do any hanky panky at my grandparents' house or any family member's house for that matter, is because I was traumatized a few years ago. Okay. It was like on a summer holiday, like a Labor Day or 4th of July. My brother and his wife came in to see my grandparents at the time. My family and I were still living there, my mom, dad, and I. And my idiot brother doesn't have the common sense that God gave a billy goat. And he comes into my room. Keep in mind, my bedroom is right across the hall from my grandparents' bathroom. And he comes in my bedroom and he's like, Nick, I'm going to take a shower with my wife. And I'm like, okay, oh God, why'd you tell me that? So I just ignore him and I go on doing my computer thing and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, I hear the two of them in there. And they are taking a shower together. Now, I don't know if they did the boom chicka boom boom, but they took a shower together. So you better best believe there was probably some extra things going on in there. I mean, I heard my sister-in-law say, babe, the water's hot, turn it down. And I did hear my brother smack his wife's derriere a few times in the shower, and she's like, that hurt. And they had love music playing. It was a song called something about I Will Always Love You, but it wasn't the Whitney Houston version. It was more like a hip-hop song, something about I will always love you. Okay, I am not going to try to sing in this podcast because I don't want to get copyright infringement. But it was one of these pop songs. And so I'm sitting there, it's probably like an hour and a half, and I'm texting my oldest brother, and I'm like, yo, bro C is in the shower with sister-in-law C, and they're doing the thing, and my oldest brother, who is way on the other side of the country, while I'm texting him this, is like literally dying on the floor laughing because I'm texting him and telling him that brother and sister-in-law C are in the shower getting their boom chicka boom boom on at grandparents. And so we're both just sitting there dying. And the dumbest thing is that they slept in my grandparents' bed the night before. Now, I don't know if my brother was just bragging to me, but he also told me that they did the deed in my grandparents' bed. Why the hell would you do that in your grandparents' house? Like, dude, like my grandparents have been married for 70 years. Why would you, I mean, like, why would you do it in their sacred bedroom? And then you go do it in their bathroom. The hell? like, here's the thing. So a couple years ago, I brought this up to them. Okay, I'm like, hey, we were celebrating Christmas one year, and I was like, hey, do you guys not need any? Do you guys need any Bath and Body Works products for your showers together? And he's like, what are you talking about? We never did anything in the shower at grandparents. Yeah, that's okay, brother. I understand that you're embarrassed and you got caught and you don't want to get caught anymore. So anybody would honestly say, what? You heard me in the shower with so and so? I wouldn't do any of that. So, future lover, if you're listening to this, we are not going to do any hanky panky around any family members. And plus, if we get a hotel around any family members, I think it should be safe to say that we're going to drive. Well, I don't know because I can't drive. So we would have to drive the same vehicle. But maybe I could get someone else to bring me in a separate vehicle so we can get all the smiles and the giggles out so that when we both show up at the family gathering, all my family's not sitting there judging us. Nick got it on before he came over to celebrate Christmas with us or whatever holiday that we would be celebrating. So that is something that will not go on with me and my future lover. So if you're worried about that, future lover, whether you're able-bodied or slightly disabled, we are not having any hanky-panky around any parameters of my family's house. We're just not doing it. I'm quite thankful that none of my family's houses are accessible, but I still don't even want to do it in a hotel in the same area that they're in because I can't keep a straight face. And when I'm really happy after I've done the deed, everybody knows I've done the deed because I'm really happy about it. So yeah, that's why I came up with the separate transportation deal. But anyway, so now if you haven't left this podcast and you're literally on the floor dying laughing, chances are you're my significant other and you need to email me right now because we need to get married. Because this is how crazy my brain works all the time. And people with disabilities are funny. Able-bodied people, like, hello. I mean, you have a late night show every time. You don't have to turn on loser Jimmy Kimmel. You don't have to turn on. I do like Jimmy Fallon, though. But I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. Anyway, that's another story. But you don't have to turn on late night TV. You just have to turn on me and I'll make you laugh. Anyway, but yeah, able-bodied people, give us a chance because we have a consistent paycheck. A lot of us are funny. Now, granted that once we get married, whoever you are out there, because you are considered an asset, not a human being when it comes to the government. When you date somebody with a disability, unfortunately, if you're able-bodied, my Social Security goes away because they look at you as an asset. It may not go away, but I think it goes down. So, which is why I'm working so hard to get off the system so that we don't have to worry about any of that bullshit. But anyway, so, able-bodied men and women, I think you're really missing out on some of the most lovable people just because of fear. Because, like I said in the beginning of this episode, it takes seconds for you to become disabled like me and in a wheelchair. So why is it so hard for those who are not disabled to date somebody that is already in that position? I don't understand it. I feel like that we kind of get discriminated against because of our disability when it comes to dating. And another thing I hate is the automatic consumption that because I'm disabled, well, then I must automatically want to date a disabled person because that person would make me feel comfortable. Listen, I already have trouble being around the disabled community because a lot of the disabled community are like, good, someone finally understands. And so then we sit around for 2.5 hours bitching about our condition. And I don't want to be, I have to be constantly reminded of my disability anyway because I live with it. I don't want to be constantly reminded of it and also see my current reflection if I date or marry somebody else that has a disability. Now, if you get a disability after we're married, that's fine. I'm with you till death do us part. But I just, like I said, I have trouble being around the disabled population in general. So yeah. I'm not looking to marry somebody that's disabled right off the bat. So I really want to know what you think because, and plus, I want to know this too because is it easier for heterosexual disabled people to get a chance with another heterosexual non disabled person than it is for two homosexuals or for two lesbians to get married and love each other? Because that's another thing too. I don't think another grown man is going to want to wipe another grown man's ass. So I don't know how a woman would feel about that either. Would you rather wipe a man's ass, women, or would you rather wipe a woman's ass, or doesn't matter to you? So I want to see where the complexities lie in the disabled community when it comes to dating. Especially, I would like to know in the like gay community. And if both of you are in a wheelchair, I would really like to know how that works out because at that point, my able body switch flips. I want to know like how you do all the things and what goes on between you two, the normal dynamic, especially if you're in a same sex disabled relationship. I want to know how all that works. Like, how do you work out your differences between the two disabilities? If you are two disabled, a gay couple or a lesbian couple, or if you're a disabled heterosexual couple. I'm not really focused on people who are mentally disabled and the disability is not physically seen because, and I may be wrong and correct me down in the comments, but I think those of us who just have mental disabilities and not the physical ones have more of a chance of finding somebody. It's not as difficult for those of you who have mental disabilities to find someone as it is difficult if you have a physical disability because they see the chair, they hear about the seizures, they hear about the medication, you're Down syndrome, you're autistic, So there's a lot of different components that go in to a physical disability versus a mental disability. And I really want to talk to the disabled community about dating. I just want to hear your points and your heart. I think it's mostly because women don't want to wipe a grown man's ass. They don't want to feel like they're taking care of a grown man child. Same thing, whether you're heterosexual or not. A man doesn't want to take care of another man. It does take a special person to be in a relationship with someone that's disabled. I hate to admit that, but I believe that it's true. And so if you are maybe you're in an interabled relationship, one of you is disabled and one of you is able-bodied. I would love to have you guys come on the show and talk about how your relationships work? And yes, we will be talking about does it work and how does that work? And it'll probably turn into another Playboy segment at Nick Speaks. But hey, sex is also one of my favorite topics next to dating. So we kind of mixed a little bit with both. So yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts today about that. And I wanted to say to the able-bodied community, take a breath, give the disabled community a chance. And I don't think you'll be sorry. Yes, it will be a rough road. Probably no marriage is either easy whether you're disabled or, and I just think disabled people have the right and they deserve to find love, and it doesn't always have to surround their disability. Everything we do in 2025 still seems to be segregated. And now we're almost in 2026, just a few days away. We have special schools, special Olympics. We have special sports teams, wheelchair basketball, wheelchair baseball. There's not a lot of integration. And I have a feeling there's not a whole lot when it goes on in the dating world between disabled people and able-bodied people. It's just one group is over here with their disabled dates and another group is over here with their able-bodied dates. I would like to see that change. And yeah, like I said before to my future lover, no hanky-panky is going to go around at my family's house or anywhere that they could be in close proximity. And really, family members don't do that to your family. I mean, honestly, that's one thing. Excuse me. That's one thing that drives me nuts as a single person, taking away the disability period altogether. One thing that drives me nuts is to see a married couple or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or if you're a same-sex couple. One thing that drives me nuts is to see people all over each other. I think for me, it's because I'm not physically getting any of that. So I'm jealous and I want part of the action. But I don't want part of the action with you or your boyfriend or your husband or your wife. I just want my own spouse to do all the things that are being done and that I unfortunately have to watch because you guys think it's cool to physically wrestle and make out and take showers in front of your family when we're all in the same house. And that's not cool. So on behalf of all families everywhere, horny couples, have sex before you go over to your family and be late and face all the questions and face all the smiles and the snickers and be like, yeah, would you rather me have sex here at the grandparents' house or at the parents' house, or would you rather me have sex at my house or at a hotel? You tell me, because I don't mind. I don't mind doing it anyway. So that's what I would say if family's gonna give you guff about the reason you were late to the family gathering was probably because you were messing around. Yeah, well, would you like us to mess around here? Because we can do that. I mean, I would be petty in that way. But anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about dating and relationships. And oh, by the way, I said in the beginning part of this episode, my short-term friend, I don't even want to call her a girlfriend, my short-term friend was, their whole family was like, well, how's he going to support her? You don't even have to worry about that until it's official. Just get to know the person. Now, if you're dating somebody that's disabled and they have no interest in getting off of the government and you're just going to be living on $900 a month, and when you get married to this disabled person, because you're enabled, they're going to look at you as an asset, so you're going to have to bring in most of the money. If the disabled person that you're dating has no get up and go, mentally speaking, then I wouldn't put yourself in that situation because you deserve to be financially supported and secure. But let's not go to the very first question when you find out that your disabled son or daughter is dating somebody else that's not disabled. Let's not go to the first question. Well, how is my son or daughter going to support them? Or how are they going to support the both of them? My son or daughter is disabled and they have to stay home. No, they don't have to stay home. If they have to stay home, there are work from home programs, but don't totally strip their ability to make a living just because they're disabled. And just because we're physically disabled does not mean that we don't have the brain power to support our wife or our husband or what have you. That's why I say physically disabled, mentally enabled. Because a lot of people see the wheelchair and they automatically think there's a severe cognitive decline because we're in a wheelchair. So my brain must be in a wheelchair too. And that's not always the case. So don't always jump to well, how are they going to support each other because one party's disabled or both parties are disabled? Let them get to know each other first. Have a few hundred scoops of ice cream or a few hundred pizzas together. Let them smell each other's fart first before we even talk about, can you financially support me? Because if you can't deal with my fart or my bowel movement, chances are you're not going to want me to financially support you regardless. So, pick out the important things before we get to the financial portion of it. And I want to say this too about the dating apps. Able-bodied people, just because you see that we're disabled does not mean that we are an ATM and we can support your. I love the one that I got in my inbox one time. Hey, baby, I love you. We hadn't even really talked much. Hey, baby, I love you. Can you send me $300 for my heart medication? No. Well, I'm going to die if I don't have it. Okay. See ya. I haven't even known you that long anyway. I mean, you are gorgeous, but if you don't even have the money to take care of your own heart medication, how in the hell are you going to take care of me? Because it's a two-way street. It's not just, well, he's disabled, so I have to do all the brunt work, or she's disabled, so I have to do all the brunt work. No, it's still a two-way street. And be very careful, especially to the disabled community, when you're out there dating, because there's a lot of slime bags that will try to take you for everything you're worth. And I don't understand why people that are non-disabled, when they come across a disabled dating profile, they automatically assume that we have thousands of dollars and they start asking us for like money for gas. And then if we give them money for gas, which I've done before in the past, they'll say, well, I need more money and I need $50, which I've done in the past. And I'm like, hello. Unfortunately, I was one of the disabled people that did not grow up with $1 million trust. Okay. So I unfortunately am not a trust baby. And no, you're not getting any of my money. I only get a little over $900 a month. Now it's closer to $1,000 a month because of the cost of living adjustment. So I'm definitely not giving the money to you, especially if we're not physically and mentally tied together as far as like a couple. So, yeah, be very careful when you're dating online, disabled people and people out there. Don't be such scumbags, okay? Quit asking for money every time you get a new message that says, you're hot. I would like to date you. Don't be like, thank you. Could you give me $50? No, I won't. I refuse. Have a good day. Scam somebody else, not me. So, yeah. That's my feeling on the disabled dating scene. I don't feel like we get a fair chance. And I would like to hear from the able-bodied community and other disabled people as to why we don't get a chance or why the able-bodied won't give us a chance. Is it because of some of the issues that I brought up, or is it much deeper than that? Tell me down in the comments below. Thank you to Columbus Restorative Massage and Wellness Studio for sponsoring this episode. You guys have a blessed and Merry Christmas. I will see you next week for the last episode of 2025. This is the Nick Speaks podcast, dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your ever so crippled, jolly host, ho, 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 St. Nicholas Comstock. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.